Super Wild Card Weekend is complete. Tap, hold, and load for a beatdown in 4K. Rams, could they be the scariest team from the weekend? Also, the Vikings' stunning collapse, a study in mirage. And we have Deion Sanders' response to Jerry Jones, what he said and what he didn't say around the horn.
Deion didn't say something? Shocking.
Oh, Jerry.
Rich for Frick to say.
I'll let you handle that one, Tim.
It was an NFL weekend, wild card, dominating wins, soul-crushing losses. But did the LA Rams thrust themselves right to the top of the mountain of commanding wins last night? Biblical beatdown, chapter and verse. True to form, a Viking funeral is hard to look away from, but how Darnold was still holding onto the ball through 9 sacks. Tim Kalishaw around the horn to you have come to praise the inner excellence of the Rams or bury the mirage that was the Vikings.
You know, I certainly think the Rams are worthy of praise. They blew out a 14-win team, and they did it on a neutral field. There were plenty of Vikings fans in Arizona last night. Stafford was smooth as ever. But I can't get past the 14 wins. This is the first 14-win team ever to have to go play in a wild card game. 14-2 until they lost to Detroit last week. And we saw the same performance 2 weeks in a row from Sam Darnold. And that's just, you know, I don't want to put it all on him, though. Kevin O'Connell played a hand in this. That was a terrible decision to go for it when it was 17-3 right before halftime, and you got a 4th and 2. Your offense is not moving. You're giving the Rams the ball at midfield. You're going to get the kickoff in the second half. You can live with a 14-point deficit and try to survive. You can't just throw an out route, incomplete, let the Rams march in, 24-3, game over. So Darnold was horrible, and he was their biggest problem. But that was not a great night for the head coach.
Emily Kaplan, have you come to praise the Rams or bury the Vikings?
I'm going to give flowers to the Rams. I think that this is a team that's been a model of how to retool on the fly. The defense was absolutely fantastic. But everything negative that has been said and we're about to say about Sam Darnold, the opposite is true about Matt Stafford, who is the epitome of what it has to have a quarterback with experience and poise. It was his 6th straight playoff game where he completed more than 65% of his passes and had multiple touchdowns. He knew exactly when to take a hit, how to take a hit. And I think that play in the second quarter, which is not what Sam Darnold did. The play in the second quarter, though, when they initially ruled it a fumble, and then afterwards they reverse it back, and Matt Stafford said, I knew exactly where the defender was. I knew exactly where my receiver was, and that was trouble pass was on purpose. That was the turning point in the game. And so I think that Matt Stafford is the reason that the Rams won.
Justin Tinsley around the horn to you.
Yeah, I have to give credit to the Rams. We understand the circumstances that are going on in L.A. and how that impacted the Rams and millions of other residents of Los Angeles. But their game plan last night was simple. It was terrorize Sam Darnold, and mission accomplished. I guess you could say they had 9 sacks by 8 different players, an NFL record. 12 Rams had at least one pressure on Sam Darnold last night, who looked like he was a true deer in the headlights. I can only imagine that Sam Darnold's agent probably looked like he got 1,000 mute buttons last night, because I just saw a contract going up in flames thanks to the Rams. But again, credit to the Rams defense, but credit to the Rams offense. Matt Stafford completed 12 passes to running backs and tight ends for 113 yards and a touchdown. And when you're going into a place like Philly next week, if you can dominate and get pressure on the quarterback on defense and control the clock on offense, you at least give yourself a chance going into a hostile environment.
For Stafford. Yes, Frank Isola around the horn to you.
Yeah, Sam Darnold famously said once as a member of the Jets, I'm seeing ghosts out there. He was seeing the Rams all night in his face, so their game plan was outstanding, and the Rams do deserve a lot of credit. Getting displaced from the Wildfires, you don't get a home game, it's a neutral game, and they were dominant. Sean McVay's an excellent coach. They've rebuilt this team from one that won a Super Bowl. But Sam Darnold, come on, the fumble that led to the touchdown was demoralizing. And to Tim's point, the 4th and 2 play ended the game. That you can just see the life came out of the Minnesota Vikings on that play. And what do the Rams do? They march right down the field, just like Baltimore did against Pittsburgh. That late first half touchdown was the killer. It was game over at that point. I get it. You get sacked 9 times. That's on your offensive line, their defense was great. But Sam Darnold, come on, my man, you got to get rid of the ball. 9 sacks, especially on the 4th and 2. That was a
Yeah, I
disaster.
wonder. We've seen quarterbacks struggle this weekend. Justin Herbert and Jordan Love, and I bet you Baker Mayfield is going to be thinking long and hard about those mistakes he made at the line. But no one stood to lose more than Sam Darnold this weekend. So my question, Frank, is did last night and maybe the last 2 games change how you think his offseason goes and the Vikings?
Yeah. Yeah, he may have lost money, but I think in a league that needs quarterbacks, there are enough teams out there. They're going to take a shot on a guy that won 14 games. The fact that Minnesota drafted J.J. McCarthy, he's going to be their guy. So I think they're just looking for a stopgap. Sam Darnold will price himself out, believe it or not. He still won 14 games during the regular season. And if he'd only played a little bit better in that game against Detroit, they would have had a bye week and they would have had 2 home games to go to the Super Bowl. I'm not going to, what he did yesterday doesn't erase everything that happened, but you have to be fair. Can you win 3 playoff games, a minimum of 3 playoff games, to win a Super Bowl with him? I'm not so
Tim
sure.
Kalishaw?
You know, I think the instant reaction is he lost a lot of money, and I'm sure he lost some, but I think there's enough teams with openings, and I don't think this is a draft where you're going to see a lot of fix your team right away in the first round quarterbacks, that there are going to be enough, there's going to be a couple teams that look at those 14 wins and study those tapes and try to figure out how to have a better offensive line and better protection, and I think he's still going to get his money elsewhere, not in Minnesota.
Emily Kaplan.
He totally bailed this team out because they had a really hard decision to make before these 2 games. Like, what do you do at quarterback next year? And now it's quite obvious. You give it to J.J. McCarthy and you find a veteran quarterback, whether it's Sam Darnold or someone else to support him. He was so bad that I literally was asking, like, can we put Daniel Jones out there? Could Daniel Jones be better? Like, that's how bad it got in the second half. But I don't want to absolve Kevin O'Connell either, because I feel like before this game, we were talking him like the second coming of Vince Lombardi. Teams were going to trade for him. And not only did Tim point out that mismanagement right before the half, but the second half, they're down by 3 scores. There was no adjustment. They kept doing conservative run plays. Like, no one was hurrying up. That's a huge issue. And it's so many offensive weapons. It's not just Justin Jefferson. Jordan Addison looked amazing. Aaron Jones was going. The fact that they couldn't get any of them going is on the coaching staff as well.
And
It was humbling.
Tinsley.
Yeah, I mean, Kevin O'Connell was right about one thing. You can't erase all the good things that he did during the regular season. You can't erase the 14 wins, the 4,300 yards, or the 3,500 touchdowns. But you also can't erase those last 2 games, the 2 most important games of the season. You can't erase the fact that the Vikings only had 1 touchdown in their last 20-plus drives of the season. You can't erase the fact that during the 9 sacks last night, during the 9 sacks last night, rather, he held onto the ball for an average of 4.73 seconds. That's not going to yield positive results. So going into next season, it's either McCarthy or it's Darnold to at least start off with. But the most important thing is they cannot waste the prime years of Justin Jefferson. This guy is that good. And his comments after the game, it showed that he was kind of absolved from this entire situation. He said, look, the franchise is going to do what it's going to do. I'm going to just show up. You don't want your franchise wide receiver talking about that, because he is too good and he is too important to the future of that franchise. The moment they figure this out, they get rid of these problems.
One more story here then. The Los Angeles Rams. I asked the question yesterday. Most impressive team of the weekend. And of course, Jaden Daniels' performance put Washington at the top of this list. And there's a lot to love about how Buffalo and how Baltimore look so dominating. But is it possible the Rams were most impressive this weekend? Around the horn, Frank Isola.
I definitely think so. I would put the Rams in Baltimore. I love the way Baltimore looked, dismantling the Steelers.
Justin Tinsley.
Yeah, I think it's given everything that's going on with the city of Los Angeles, what they had to deal with and what they did to a 14-win team, I wouldn't be mad at that.
Emily Kaplan.
Oh, it's Baltimore to me. Lamar Jackson proved a lot with that win.
Tim Kalishaw.
Oddly enough, it's between the Rams and Houston. I didn't expect that coming in.
Rams and Houston.
Those
You've been
might have
most
been
impressed by the Rams and
most
Houston.
impressive teams. On
did
this
nothing in the
weekend,
first
yes.
half.
They were 2 teams that were the underdogs, I guess, by some metrics.
They were.
Taking a break. Buy or sell next.
Both home.
To hear from Jerry Jones is truly delightful, and it's intriguing. I love Jerry and believe in Jerry. After you hang up and process it and think about it, it's intriguing. But I love Boulder and everything there is about our team, the coaches, and our student body and the community. Quote, end quote, that's Deion Sanders. Tim, this is your account. What did you hear from Deion there? What did you not hear from Deion there? And can you honestly see Jerry Jones hiring Deion Sanders to head coach your Dallas Cowboys?
I heard Deion making it sound like it was almost a job offer because he said it's intriguing, but then when you think about it, he's talking about Boulder. I don't think it's gone that far or will go that far. I think he sees Deion as somebody who's interesting. I honestly think Deion is better in college as a motivator, and he might be better in an NFL team that needs somebody to lift up the brand. If he wants to go to Jacksonville and put the Jaguars on the map, that would work for them. The Cowboys are on the map.
Oh yeah, are
the Cowboys
they?
Are on
The brand
the Cowboys
is...
are on. They're on too much of a map.
The brand is
They're
Brolic. The
always
brand
on the
is
map. They need to get
Solomon
off
right
the
now.
map and get serious about football instead of being on the map.
Emily Kaplan, how did you hear Deion there?
The most important thing I heard him say is that Jerry Jones reached out to him and not the other way around. And I think he's trying to control the idea that he's flirting with all these other teams because now that his son is gone and he's coached a Heisman winner, I think it's less attractive or fun for him to stay in college. And it does seem like he's entertaining offers for the NFL.
Justin Tinsley, how'd you hear it?
Well, Tony, to hear from you is always delightful and intriguing, but I'm not buying too much into this just yet. Honestly, what I want to focus on are Troy Aikman's comments when he said the Dallas head coaching job is not a coveted one right now. I honestly agree with that. Owning the Dallas Cowboys is glorious. Coaching the Cowboys doesn't seem like that. No one believes you're the power broker within the organization, and the owner only wants to win on his own terms. So it's like Jerry is looking for the 9th head coach during his tenure with Dallas. And it's all because he's still haunted by what he did to the first one in Jimmy Johnson. This is all a result of that. I say it all the time, and I mean
Frank Isola.
All right, I can't believe I'm going to do this. I'll defend Jerry Jones from this standpoint. And I like Troy Aikman, but to say that it's not coveted, Mike McCarthy stuck around for a while. After a lot of those playoffs, early playoff exits, everyone thought, all right, he's gone. Jerry Jones stuck with him. I still would have stuck with Mike McCarthy. I think he's a good coach. As for Deion is very smart. What he said. If Deion was at Florida State, he would leave to take the Cowboy job. He's basically saying, Jerry, make me an offer, give me some money, I'll come to Dallas.
Okay.
But I think at this point, they need an experience.
But you're not hearing a denial there.
NFL
is what I want to get the brass tacks.
No.
You're not hearing a denial from Deion. I like Boulder,
He's smart.
but he didn't give a denial that he wouldn't leave. Tim, back to you now because you believe the Cowboys is still a coveted job, but you heard Troy Aikman last night.
It is coveted only in a strange way. It's not what it should be. You have the most money, you have the biggest stadium, you have the biggest TV ratings. You should be able to get the best coach in the league, and you can't because of the structure and people knowing they have to be basically subservient to this 83-year-old owner general manager who's all over the place. He might land your helicopter. His helicopter in the middle of your practice field, so you got to watch out.
The new head
Dallas
coach might be
media
one
is
who
brutal,
is
too.
inclined to do that as well. So let me ask you, give me the percentage chance Deion Sanders coaching the Cowboys in September, Tim.
15.
Emily Kaplan?
50.
Wow. Justin Tinsley?
Whoa.
35.
Frank Isola?
Well, obviously Jerry knows what he's going to do because he just got rid of Mike McCarthy. I'll put it at 25.
Obviously? I don't know if there's an obvious
I don't
in
think
there.
that's obvious.
We'll move on. Buy or sell two.
Why?
News
He
of
just
the day
got rid
from
of the guy.
Pittsburgh. It's Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin's exit presser.
Certainly there's change that comes with this time of year. Certainly there's change that comes when we don't have the desired outcome, and so those are just the realities of the business. I would imagine there's going to be some things that change around here on a lot of levels.
It's an imagination of change, but there's really no detail. Emily, buy or sell Tomlin there? You think what changes should be front and center?
Yeah, well, I think offensive coordinator. I think it's insane that they somehow regressed on first down offense from Arthur Smith and Matt Canada. They also got to draft better. The lack of good drafting is why they didn't have depth, and we know the quarterbacks have been bad.
But do you believe there's any change in the head coaching position? Tomlin, of course, is implying he's coming back, but there was some thought there. Maybe the team might try to trade, or maybe they should. Emily?
No, I think stability and head coach is okay here. He's going to be the scapegoat for a lot of other people's failures, so I think he stays. Offensive coordinator's got to go.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things that need to be addressed with this team. The defense, as Emily just said, the offensive coordinator. But this all boils down to one problem. Mike Tomlin and the Pittsburgh Steelers have not had a franchise quarterback in almost a decade. So until they address that, until they find lightning in a bottle again with the franchise quarterback, it's going to be more of these issues in Pittsburgh.
How dare he lose to Baltimore and Lamar Jackson on the road in the playoffs? That'll teach him. The idea, first of all, the Rooney family is not having Mike Tomlin address the media, and then they're going to get rid of him at some point. And Justin is right. It comes down to the quarterback. It's hard to find those guys, and they have not found one since Ben Roethlisberger left. They need to find a guy.
Tim Kalishaw.
I honestly think the guy at front and center of the exit should be Mike Tomlin, because there's two different Mike Tomlins. There's the one we see from afar or from other cities, and we say, oh, this guy's never had a losing record. And there's the one Steelers fans see who say 0-5 the last 5 playoff games. Jason Garrett's won a playoff game more recently than he has. This team wins 10, goes 10-7, and then gets blown up in the playoffs. And it's time after time after
There
time.
is a middle ages here, right? Where you never want to be in the middle ages. You never want to be the last team in the playoffs, good enough to make the playoffs, but not good enough to have a good draft pick, and then going out in a game no one thinks you're going to win because you're not. That's where they've been for a decade. We'll move on. Buy or sell 3. Pelicans Bulls tonight. Zion Williamson's second game since his 1-game suspension for tardiness and missing or being late for a team flight, I should say. You see the suspension as a sign the Pelicans could trade Zion before next month's deadline, Frank Isola?
I don't see that happening because right now, think about it. He's played 192 games over 6 years, but his poor fitness, his poor production, the fact that he's injured this season, you know what it's doing? It's helping you maybe get the #1 overall pick. So I'm going to wait until the lottery and I'm going to trade him, but I would trade him because I don't think it's ever going to get that much better for Zion. The poor guy is always hurt.
Justin Tinsley.
Yeah, this guy's averaging 40 missed games a season. But you know what? People get in relationships all the time thinking they can change a person. All it takes is one NBA GM in February saying, look, this is the guy, this is the piece that we need to make a deep run into May and June. I give it at least a 45-50% chance.
Well, there we go. All right. Odds maker me, Emily Kaplan, that the Pelicans could be thinking about a trade of Zion before this deadline.
It should be high, even though they're selling low. Klay Thompson has played more games since 2022, returning from a torn Achilles, than Zion Williamson has played in his entire 6-year career. At some point, you are what your record is. His record is availability. He just doesn't have it.
Tim Kalishaw.
There's 30 teams in the NBA. A lot of them don't get chances to compete for a long time. I still think the Pelicans' only chance is the healthy year from Zion when he mixes in with the others. And if you're saying they might get the first pick with that, then I'll take my chances on.
So no trade, and wait, you're not talking about chances this year of turning it around, right? I mean, they're
no, not this year.
Oh, well, not this year, because somebody did tell me in their season preview, one team to watch out for.
If they stayed healthy. If they stayed
well,
healthy.
you did say it. I mean, you had them winning the Western Conference, I believe.
One game.
I believe you had them winning
the first game.
Oh, my
Tim.
goodness.
If.
Emily Kaplan, Justin Tinsley. That's our showdown next.
Pre-game, something happened that just isn't right. What happened? And the Warriors are going to try to make things right. This kid had a Curry jersey on, right? Oh, no. They made him take it off because he was going to do a thing on the court. He put his Warrior hat and jersey.
Yo, this is messed up.
They put the Raptor T-shirt on him. Look how sad he is.
That's Bob Fitzgerald and Kalena Azabuike on the call. They called it a sad, ruined night. I'm not sure if that was the case, but you weigh in here. Emily, how do you rule on the Raptors having the young fan take off the Steph Curry jersey because he's the opposing team and wear a Raptors shirt to deliver the game ball in a promotion?
Yeah, probably unnecessary for the announcers to point it out, but I also sometimes find Canadians to be unnecessarily bureaucratic. By any luck, though, the way the Raptors are going, the kid's going to be wearing a Cooper Flag jersey next year.
Justin Tinsley.
Yeah, I blame two people in all this. It's not the Raptors or the kid. It's the announcers over-exaggerating. He didn't look sad. He looked mystified to be on the court with NBA players. And I blame the parents. You don't send a kid down there in an opposing jersey and at a home game for the Toronto Raptors. That's their fault. It's not the kid's fault or the franchise.
You love Steph, and everybody should love Steph, honestly. I did not see this as a ruined or sad night. He was on the court of the game, changed jerseys for a little bit. He could change back afterwards. Nobody was insulted or harmed here. We'll move on. Jordan Poole, pregame fashion. The Harry Potter line. House Ravenclaw? Really? I'd like to see that sort of quiz. In-game fashion, this play, all right? Poole is getting it because it's clearly a pass out of bounds, a turnover, to a fan in white But that's, is that like the Wizards white in uniform? Let's be honest here. The color of the clothes, the proximity to the court and play, maybe even it was deflected. Justin, does Jordan Poole really deserve blame here?
Yeah, they do. It's the Washington Wizards. Carrington was already past half court. I don't know what that guy said to Jordan Poole, but he got some get back. Oh, well, almost.
Emily Kaplan?
No, I don't think this is an issue of like an invisibility cloak that was a deflected pass.
Very
but I do
nice,
think Jordan
Emily.
Poole
Very
might have
nice.
more. All right, maybe I should have stopped there.
No, that's good enough for me.
Wizard
Yeah, I don't blame Poole. Everybody wants to blame Poole for everything. Ravenclaw, I say this as a Hufflepuff. I mean, I think let's make every NBA player a Gryffindor or a Slytherin, but I don't know Ravenclaw. We'll take Emily Kaplan for 30 seconds.
So Denver hockey coach David Carl is on an incredible heater. In the last 3 years, 2 national championships and just led Team USA World Junior team to back-to-back gold. He's 35 years old. All the NHL teams want him, except he's hesitant to jump to the NHL because of the way that owners and general managers treat coaches as expendable objects. So I think that the NHL should heed this as a warning. And the way that they treat human beings just isn't cool. The turnover has just been insane, especially this season.
Those juniors, that was pretty great. But they ended 3-on-3? 3-on-3 because it went to so many overtime? I don't know how I feel about
Definitely not going to coach the
It
Cowboys.
had the result we all wanted. The Americans won. All is well.
23.5 hour break. We'll